Sicko director Michael Moore let it all out on Monday, June 18th's Democracy Now! Program with like-minded, ultra-lib hostess Amy Goodman. The following is Miss Amy's introduction.
From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
In the world's richest country.
I work 3 jobs.
You work 3 jobs?
Yes.
Uniquely American, isn't it? I mean, that is fantastic.
Laughter isn't the best medicine.
I get a bill from my insurance company telling me that the ambulance ride wasn't pre-approved. I don't know when I was supposed to pre-approve it. After I gained consciousness in the car, before I got in the ambulance.
Sicko, the latest film by Academy Award-winning filmmaker Michael Moore. Today, we sit down with the renowned muckraker as he takes on the healthcare industry.
They get away with murder. They charge whatever they want. There's no government control. And frankly, we will not really fix our system until we remove these private insurance companies. I mean, they literally have to be eliminated. They cannot be allowed to exist in this country.
Today, Michael Moore for the hour. All that and more coming up.
For such an objective journalist like Goodman, I've never seen her this giddy and/or starstruck. It's kind of pitiful when you think about it, considering she considers herself an exception to the rulers.
Maybe one way I should say to people, one way to beat the system, at least this system, is that we should all try to take a little better care of ourselves, and starting with, number one here, myself. And so I started eating fruits and vegetables. I don't know if you've heard of these things, but they're come in different colors and they're crunchy, and they're very good for you if you haven't tried them. Your mother is sitting over. I don't know if I should point this out, but your mom is sitting over there, and she looks like she did a good job teaching you the importance of fruits and vegetables.
She did a great job.
And she said that you were an excellent child, by the way. We missed that off camera here, but I want your viewers and listeners to know that Mom pretty much approves of how you've turned out. And the other thing is I started going for a walk every day. So I walk for like a half hour to an hour a day. And I feel 100% better. I've lost 30 pounds. Don't worry, you're not gonna see the Jane Fonda workout video from me or anything. I'm just saying though, if we all just do a couple things just to take better care of ourselves, we can avoid this crazy healthcare system. And you know what? I think it's better for the planet too. That again, we're overconsumptive on so many things as Americans, and we all need to kind of think about that a little bit and how we behave. So, and I say that for myself. Start with me.
Michael Moore, the Academy Award-winning filmmaker. His newest film, Sicko, is going to be in theaters next week. Thousands of theaters around the country. This week, he heads to Washington, D.C. to testify before Congress to challenge the healthcare system in this country, calling for single-payer insurance. And then he goes to New Hampshire to challenge the presidential candidate.
Here's some of her interview with Moore, or better yet, find and watch the movie online and screw up his movie's gate. After all, Sicko is all about exposing the corporate greed that costs lives. Sicko is a public service, not about making money, right, Michael?
The emergency workers who you took to Cuba, talk
Yes.
about the healthcare system there.
Well, when they say that there's a doctor in every block, that's not a cliche. I mean, they're really, Cuba per capita has so many more doctors than we have. There's been a doctor shortage in America for a long time, and it's been pretty much because the AMA doesn't want any, more students in medical schools here, because they believe that if they keep the number of doctors low, those doctors get more money, as opposed to if we had a whole bunch of doctors, you'd have to share the pie a little more. So. But with the Cuban doctors, the Cuban healthcare system, I was very impressed with it. All the people we took down there were extremely happy with the treatment that they received. But they focus a lot on prevention, and because they do that, they end up not having to spend a lot of money on their healthcare. They don't have the money. It's a very poor country, as you know, and I was very impressed. And with what little they have to use with their healthcare system, they end up living longer than we do. They have a better infant mortality rate than we do. A number of issues, they're the same or better than us.
And not everyone is fawning all over Sicko. Daniel Weintraub of the San Jose Mercury News wrote, "Moore never gets around to telling us that the underfunded Canadian and British systems have such long waiting lists that the Canadian Supreme Court struck down a ban on private health care, and the British are buying insurance to supplement their government coverage." The climax of the movie takes us to Cuba, a place Moore lionizes without even passing a reference to Fidel Castro's crimes against his own people. Had Moore been a Cuban and tried to challenge the government the way he does here, he would have been snuffed out or locked up long ago, not given free health care. Something tells me it's just a sign of things to come. I thought I knew something about politics. A few nights ago, I was out with some friends talking about the new Massachusetts healthcare program when it happened.
Isn't it funny how liberals always have to force people to do things they consider so wonderful?
You hear that? Bob's talking out his ass.
I thought it was a misunderstanding. But then again, maybe not. I wonder how many of you who just turned 18 know that you have to get medical insurance by the end of this month, or you'll be in violation of the law. You'll have 6 months to get your act together after that, or when you file your state tax next year, they'll take most, if not all, of your return. The penalties get worse after that. In a recent poll, 49% of residents said that individuals should not be compelled to buy health insurance even if they don't want it. They're always throwing around numbers of people who have no medical insurance. Many of those are you young people who are healthy and didn't want to spend the money. Welcome to the joys of being an adult in Massachusetts. About 34% of residents said the state could not afford to provide health insurance to lower-income residents, while 49% of residents said the state could afford it. Maybe I'm talking out of my again, but most lower-income residents don't pay property taxes. Also, Governor Deval Patrick is now pushing local cities and towns to impose a meal tax to bring in money so they can lower those property taxes. Raise taxes to lower taxes. Who's talking out their butts now? 47% believe Massachusetts would become a magnet for low-income people as a result of the law. In fact, according to a recent report called The Boston Paradox, lots of healthcare, not enough health. With young people leaving the state for more affordable locations, the workforce increasingly includes older people more likely to be afflicted with such ailments such as cancer and heart disease. Chronic diseases mean higher costs. If the trends continue, people in Massachusetts will have to trim back on healthcare to save money for such essential items as education, transportation, or housing. What the poll shows is that people are genuinely compassionate and believe everyone should be covered with adequate health care. But people also believe we shouldn't be forced to pay if we don't want to. That's why elections are important. Almost everyone in office on Beacon Hill supported this law, including former Governor Mitt Romney. We all pay for their health insurance, and now we're forced to pay ours, whether we like it or not. The next time you hear someone talking out of their you-know-where, remember, that's close to where some of us keep our wallets. This is Bob Parks, Black and White, and you can read my columns and/or watch my YouTube videos online. See you next week at the same time on 97.3 FM WJDF.